covering climate, weather, and the industrial enterprise from Penn State Meteorology. Here is Up in the Air.
Hello everyone, welcome to Up in the Air. I am Logan Williams.
And I'm Joe Spear. Wild weather is featured a lot in our climate stories for this week.
Yes, and we also have a feature from Hannah Evans regarding global warming. But first, here's Update in the Air. "35 were killed and 17 are missing as Japan recovers from a direct hit from Typhoon Hagibis. The typhoon made landfall on the main Japanese island of Honshu with winds up to 90 miles per hour. Thousands were evacuated and residents stocked up on food and supplies as the nation was rocked by strong winds and heavy rain. Many areas around the country flooded as rivers burst their banks and inundated nearby homes. Even the capital of Tokyo was not spared, as some were forced to evacuate as the building swayed due to wind and due to a 5.7 magnitude earthquake, which struck the country as the storm made landfall. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe extended his condolences to those affected by the storm and promised that the government will do its utmost to help rebuild.
People would typically go to the beach to experience high tide, but this past weekend, residents of the capital and parts of coastal Virginia had high tide brought to them. Locations bordered by the Potomac River and Chesapeake Bay experienced coastal flooding due to Tropical Storm Melissa. The 13th named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season pushed water southward out of the bay and river as it crawled up the northeast coast. But once Melissa moved farther out to sea, all of that water rushed back inland. The situation was only worsened by this month's full moon, the Hunter moon. The official timing of the full moon was 5:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. The presence of the full moon and Melissa increased water levels 2 to 3 feet above normal for parts of Alexandria, D.C., Annapolis, and Baltimore. This wasn't just an anomalous occurrence either. A high tide flooding has sharply increased in the past decade.
Once again, California's hillsides are ablaze. Amidst a historical power cut to hundreds of thousands of Californians, several wildfires broke out across the state, including fires near major population centers such as San Francisco and Los Angeles. The Saddle Ridge fire burned just outside Sylmar, California, and it burned 7,000 acres and destroyed over 30 structures. The Sandalwood fire burned over 70 structures, mostly mobile homes, and killed 2 just outside of Calimesa, California. Both regions in California were under red flag warnings, which is an alert issued by the National Weather Service to highlight severe fire danger. Due to the high threat of fires breaking out, electric companies decided to cut power to thousands across the state, a controversial move that may not have worked as planned. Investigators are currently looking at the possibility that power lines helped ignite the Saddle Ridge fire, while the Sandalwood fire is still under investigation. With a changing climate and warming temperatures, preventative actions such as the power cut need to be debated so that residents are ready for future fire seasons.
The vast endlessness of space allows scientists to constantly find new things, but we are still discovering new things in our own solar system. A team of astronomers found 20 new moons surrounding Saturn earlier this month using the Mauna Kea telescope in Hawaii. Saturn's grand total of moons has now climbed to 82, beating out Jupiter for the most moons in our solar system. The new moons are as big as ours, only getting to around 3 miles in diameter. They also don't all orbit in the same direction. A couple of moons are orbiting in the same direction of Saturn's rotation, but the rest are orbiting in the opposite direction. The moons are strangely grouped together, indicating that they could have been made from collisions between larger moons or outside objects. The scientists are now holding a naming competition for the newly discovered moons, drawing from names of giants in Norse, Gallic, and Inuit mythologies.
Old Man Winter has arrived early in some parts of the country over the past week, with heavy snow and bitter cold being reported across many states in the northern plains. Some areas in North Dakota received up to 30 inches of snow, with the first flakes of the season being reported as far south as Denver, Colorado, and parts of Nebraska. Denver actually dropped from being at 83 degrees one day to only 20 degrees the next, due to a cold front moving through from the system. Farther north, a dangerous combination of fully leaved trees, heavy wet snow, and gusty winds prompted North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum to activate the National Guard, and pre-positioned power crews in places where electricity was thought likely to go out. In addition to infrastructure problems, this storm provides yet another challenge for North Dakota's agricultural industry, which has already been struggling this year due to an unusually wet summer and early fall, causing diseases and preventing farmers from harvesting their crops.
A recent report from the Department of Agriculture showcased a troubling outlook for soybean and corn yields. These two crops have already taken a hit from rain and flooding that pounded the Midwest over the summer. The recent snowstorm that impacted the Dakotas, Minnesota, and parts of the Corn Belt has diminished yields even more. The World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimates report estimated soybean yields at 3.5 billion bushels, 14.4% less than summer amounts. Corn has taken less of a hit, with yield decreasing by 8.3%. Current standings of harvest have Minnesota, Dakotas, and Wisconsin all being below 3% of total corn planted. The same states are lacking in soybean harvest as well. North Dakota is at 8%, much lower than its average of 48%. This year, it seems like weather has taken the charm out of life on the farm.
And now we go to a feature from Hannah Evans regarding global warming.
Global warming is happening, but not everywhere. Some places are warming a lot more than others, but what we do know is that global warming began to accelerate starting in the 1970s. The question is global warming good or bad?
Michael Mann. I am a professor here in the Department of Meteorology and Atmospheric Science. My official title is Distinguished Professor of Atmospheric Science. In the 1970s, what happened is we required factories to scrub those emissions to prevent that sulfur pollution from making it to the atmosphere. And so we removed that mask that had hidden some of the warming, and large-scale warming of the planet accelerated and continues unabated today. In fact, we're already seeing the impacts of even that 1 degree Celsius warming of the planet in the form of unprecedented extreme weather events like we saw last summer, summer 2018, here across the Northern Hemisphere and in the U.S. with the wildfires out west and with unprecedented rainfall, the wettest summer on record here in State College, Pennsylvania. Global warming isn't uniform. On top of the overall warming of the planet, some places are going to get less warming because they've got more cold air coming south. Other areas are going to get more warming because they've got warm air going north. And so much of what you see there with these regional variations, more warming in the desert Southwest, more warming in New England, has to do with how climate change is impacting atmospheric wind patterns and ocean currents. And that leads to some areas warming even faster.
The temperature change may not seem significant as of right now, but by later years that number will seem very large. This temperature change puts us at risk for more severe weather such as storms, heat waves, floods, and droughts, higher death rates, dirtier air, higher wildlife extinction rates, and many other problems. What can you do to prevent the rise in temperatures?
And we're back. So Logan, temperature-wise, fall has certainly felt like it. Coming into we are a decent way into fall so far, and the temperatures are really matching up with that.
Yeah, definitely. Over the past week or so, temperatures have been just about average, not too hot, not too cold. It's been feeling really nice out there. So let's toss it over to Ryan at the Climate Wall and see how the next couple of weeks are looking.
Yeah, thanks, Logan. Really not much will change. Temperatures will still remain in the 60s and remain pleasant. And for this fall time of year, as of October 17th, average high this time of year is 61 degrees, mean temperature 51 degrees, and an average low of 41 degrees. And what's I think is pretty cool, our average highs, our record highs and record lows have been in back-to-back years, 82 degrees in 1938 and 24 degrees in 1939. And the temperature outlook valid October 22nd, October 28th. Eastern and western parts of the nation will be a high chance of above normal temperatures, and the center part of the nation, high chance of below normal temperatures. And really the hot spot will be right here in California. higher chances of above normal temperatures, and that won't be the case as when we had some snow up in Montana and recently right here into the northern central plains, higher chances of below normal temperatures extending into the southern part of the southern plains as well. And right here in Texas, where there has been a drought, that will be at least a change, as there will be, it's not, instead of higher temperatures, higher chance of lower temperatures. And shout out to my dad right now, who is in the Gulf Coast of Florida. Temperatures might be in the mid to upper 80s. Now, that will extend into next week. And for our neck of the woods, there will be a decent chance of above normal temperatures really extending into New England, as there will be even a higher chance of above normal temperatures for this time period. And precipitation outlook, really looking for the eastern part of the nation to be above normal in terms of precipitation, and eastern and central parts of western parts of the nation will be a little bit below normal. And right here in the Pacific Northwest, we just had a relief with a lot of precipitation. Next week, they'll be a little bit drier. And from southern Oregon to northern California, it'll be even drier for this time period. And unfortunately, we have some severe and excessive drought right here in Texas. And for those farmers and for people who need water, there won't unfortunately be much relief. And that's really some bad news. But into the eastern part of the nation, there will be a lot of precipitation where we do have some drought, and that'll be more of that later. And there'll be some warm and humid air into the Gulf Coast, really heading up into Birmingham and Atlanta and Georgia as well. And right here in our neck of the woods, State College, there will be a decent chance of above normal precipitation. And our drought monitor is pretty spotty, but really not much of a change, only in Texas, and more of that later. There's been a deepening in the drought. But right here in the Four Corners, from Arizona, Utah, Colorado, there's been a moderate to severe conditions with drought. And again, in the Pacific Northwest, there has been a relief as we had storms moving through. Just some, really some slightly normal below some dry conditions. But right here in the southeast, right in Texas, it's gotten worse. And from Georgia, the Panhandle, Florida, and Alabama, Mississippi, there's still some moderate to severe drought. From our neck of the woods, not much has changed except in the Delmarva, where we do see some moderate spots of drought popping up as we had some abnormally dry conditions. And I know it's this time of the year, winter is nearing, and we had a snowstorm that just passed by into the upper Midwest and the Rockies. And some of that is still lingering, as there's been some melting right here in northern parts of Colorado and Nebraska, but right in the upper, in the interior Mountain West and the Rockies of Canada, what we should see this time of the year is a good amount of snow. And with that colder air coming, there will be higher chances of trees that will start to lose their leaves. And it's been really different right here in State College from the last report. More moderate colors, and the Catskills has been really closing the peak. And from the Adirondacks, the green and white mountains, it's not so green and white anymore. It's now red, orange, and yellow. And that's what really we should see this time of the year. And for those people who are tourists go to tourist attractions, it's much of a relief. And huge weekend as number 7 Penn State now will play number 17 Michigan. And tailgating will be really seasonable with partly cloudy skies, and Sunday will be some partly cloudy skies with warmer temperatures. And Logan and Joe, I don't know about you guys. I plan on tailgating. I'm sure it's going to be a nice one for you guys.
All right, I certainly hope so. And even though the game's only going to be at 7:30, I'm sure it'll be a nice day to be out enjoying those tailgates and just being together as the Penn State community that we are.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It will be a long day. It will be a long day for many people on Saturday, but at least it's looking to be an absolutely gorgeous day for some football.
Yes, it certainly will. We want to thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Up in the Air, but don't forget to join us next week, Up in the Air.